One thing I want to caution you guys is to make like bold statements. And I've seen this a lot in my comments lately where people say, my industry is not impacted and I'm really, really not worried. I work in healthcare, I work in the defense contractor business, I work in all these industries. I'm not worried about layoffs. Well, check out this article right here. And this is Northrop Grumman is doing just filed something with the state in Arizona that they're gonna let 500 people go, and they've wrote something similar in California, thinking about letting 1,000 people go. So now I came to thinking, well, if there's so many conflicts going on in the world, why are these big defense contractors laying off people? And they should be hiring like crazy because they are getting money from the government, right? So I'm looking at it like, how are these people being let go? Is it artificial intelligence that's replacing these people? Because normally, defense contractors in time of crisis, where we got all these active conflicts going on, they should be hiring like crazy, but no, they're kind of letting them go. And I don't know too much about, defense contractors, but a lot of them have security clearances, right? You work on projects, you do on that, and those are very hard to obtain. I know somebody in Las Vegas that has a few of those clearances, and they're hiring and they're trying to get people with these clearances because it is so hard to obtain one, right? And I think if you don't work for a defense contractor or something like it, or the government, and you have one of those and they expire, it's very, very hard to replace and very expensive. So why would they be making layoffs? Because most people, at the defense contractor should be ramping up and hiring like crazy. So actually, what I was thinking is that all these, tech layoffs should actually be absorbed by defense contractor and the government, because they keep making these saying, oh, we can't get qualified people, we're trying to get all these people. So they should just be absorbed, right? Like absorbed. And and we shouldn't have these news because they should say, oh, we'll just take most people from Tesla because most of them are very, very knowledgeable, skilled people, right? So they should just be moved from one side, they are moving from the private sector to the government sector, or, a contractor or something like it. And I haven't seen articles like that where they say, hey, if you've been let go by Tesla, just come over and we'll probably get you a job. So I haven't seen that lately. I don't know why. Would make sense to me to do that, only if money's tight there too. But with all this crazy government spending, I don't know. So this is just something that I'm like, you got to be very, very cautious because everybody's affected by these layoffs. Everybody. And even teachers. I read some articles that even teachers are affected. And then they're like, well, they're having they can't let teachers go and whatnot. Well, you just wait. They're like, I think college enrollment's down. They're trying to get enrollment up and doing all that kind of other stuff. So if you're in the business of, if you're in a protected industry, so to speak, that thinks that doesn't do layoff, let me know in the comments below. And I'd be super interested to see what you guys think. What are, what's protected from these layoffs? Because I think every business going to be impacted. And some people brought up some really good comments about um, with the AI layoffs and, like the tech revolution, it's kind of stopped. People are like, oh, the work from home era also stopped. And CEOs caught on that most jobs can be done remote. And then why hire somebody in the US to do a remote job when you can just outsource to the Philippines, India, Taiwan, all these other places where it's so much cheaper. And I've read a lot of you guys' comments that said, oh, in Europe, a developer is a quarter or half the price as it is in the US. So I'm looking at it like, if there's that, that aspect of it. And I know that Amazon has been doing that for years, where they just hire people from all over the world. And Airbnb, I think, did that too, to, at a fraction of the cost. So what's the, what's the industry that is protected? And I'm super curious to hear that. I don't think any industry is protected. And people have been saying, oh, your Oh, we're years, we're like we're like at least 10, 15 years away. And what if these AI tools break down? Well, I'm telling you right now, they're gonna be subscription models. And yes, you need service techs. You need techs that service all these, tools, and like robots that are doing, the hamburger flipping and whatnot. But once the kinks are worked out, it's way, way simpler than having people not show up to work. And some people forget that. They're like, oh, wait till that robot doesn't work. Well, what if you don't show up to work either? Then you're also in a pickle, right? And the more likely than not, for you to not show up to work is way more likely than the robot not working, right? So you could probably say that it's going to run 95% out of the time with 100% accuracy. And I don't know how many times you're going to call out because your car broke down, you were traffic, you were late, they had problems with the shift, you had a family emergency, you were sick, just human things that robot just doesn't care about, right? So now, I'm like, okay, all these layoffs, all these industries have pros and cons, right? And all these companies also need to somehow market and have investors maybe and whatnot. But I'm a transition slowly into ghost listings, and you gotta be with me here for a minute, because you're like, why are you talking about ghost job listings? So when you're in the US, perception is a lot, right? Perception, I would say, is almost everything in the game, right? If you can perceived value is almost received value, right? And so when you have companies that have ghost job listings, right? So they have about 1.7 million ghost job listings on LinkedIn that just aren't inactive. And you're like, why don't they take that down? Well, if you want to raise capital, if you want to show with all these layoffs that you're still growing, right? That you're still like progressing and you're doing better and better, even though you did all these layoffs, you have what better way to say that than have these job listings online? And if somebody, if you're going to raise money, if somebody comes and says, yo, why do you have all these job listings open? Like, why are you letting so many people go, but still have these job listings open and your company's not doing that great? It's a pretty simple solution. You can just say, we haven't found the right candidates that fit the AI need, right? That fit the AI revolution need. And as you probably know, it's probably really hard to find an AI developer. So I was on a wedding over the weekend and talked to some recruiter, and he said, yeah, we're throwing, if you know how to pro software, if you know how to do like the deep machine learning and that kind of stuff, we're throwing interns tens of thousands of dollars a month. So imagine what a full developer, I don't know if you call it a full stack developer, but a full developer in AI, how sought after they are, right? And so now you can go as company owner, as board of directors, and you have VC funding and you need to report to shareholders, and they're going to say, why have you let all these people go? Well, we're moving on to the AI revolution, and we're just trying to find new people that fit the AI need, right? And then I bet you 99% are just going to shut up and say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But in reality, it's different. In reality, it's not how it is at all. And actually, the company's struggling with high debt, over leveraged, is struggling to keep employees. Everybody fears that they're next with the layoffs. And that's a true concern, right? But it's just crazy how perceived value in the US is actual, the value, right? So now we're looking at it and we're like, what do we do? What are we going to do about these ghost job listings and all these layoffs, right? So in order for you to get another job in this job market, you need to somehow have AI in the resume, right? Using you got to be using AI tools or something else to advance your skills, right? And if you do not have these AI tools or these AI skills, you might be replaced. And it is not hard nowadays to replace somebody like you because there's so many to pick from, right? So when I'm looking at all these layoffs and all these new job postings, right? And actually, Ali, my wife, she's she does she does career development content online and does a bunch of consulting for companies and stuff like that. And so they're seeing that a bunch of people are trying to get AI on the resume and trying to be advanced so they can showcase their value, right? But with all that kind of crazy stuff going on in the world where there's so many layoffs, you get so many applications, right? Where before, 2 years ago, you're like, oh, I don't, a job listing got 500 applications, and now you get a few thousand. And I spoke to somebody at the wedding that's a recruiter in the Bay Area, and he said for internships, he also gets a few thousand. So when you look at that, and I asked him, so how long does it take you to go through it? And he says it takes him a few weeks to go through all these applications. So how do you stand out among a few thousand? And I know how, but it's not easy. You gotta you gotta have project portfolios. You gotta have you gotta be on top of your game. And the problem is you're competing with the best of the best, right? You're competing with people that now might even have security clearances that might come in handy if you're going to work for the government, right? That you worked for the government, you worked for a government contractor, so to speak. You have a security clearance, so you can work on projects that are, in the government. And if you're trying to get into, medical devices or something like it, or another defense contractor or another contractor job, I think a security clearance is probably pretty damn sweet to have. Let me know in the comments below if you think a security clearance is worth having, and if it will put up your resume on top of the stack, or not. And yeah, it is crazy because when you have all these job ghost listings and they're trying to, portray the value like, oh, we're growing, we're doing so much better now, we're having all these openings, but they're not doing anything. It's just, it doesn't help any of us, right? But as this article said, for us, it's only about, I think, like 10%. I think there's like 8 million job listings open in the US at any given time, and there's like 1.7 million ghost listings. So now I'm looking at, how much around the world is that? And in the UK, it's like way, way worse, right? It's like 1/3 or something in the article. I'm gonna put it up here, but that doesn't help us in the US, right? And so how can we combat that? Well, there should be an expiration date on each job listing, right? There should be after 90 days, you got to pay. If you can't find somebody in 90 days, you got to pay. And if you can't find somebody for 180 days, you got to pay even more. And after that, if it's for 360, you got to pay even more, right? Because then something's not right. And then after 365 days, after a year of having that job posting up, it's you're not trying to find anybody, right? So that's one thing. And the second thing that I want to tell you guys about is how do I think to make yourself almost recession proof, almost layoff proof. And this is what I really want you to get out of this, right? In order for you to be recession proof is to keep gaining skills and to never ever stop networking, right? So if I want you to take away something from this video is that you're never 100% sure if you're going to get laid off or not. And you're never 100% sure if you're going to apply to a job that's a ghost listing. But what you can, what you can do is you can always, always try to network and advance your career, right? And you can always, always learn new skills and take classes. You can take LinkedIn Nano courses. You can do all these, you can take all these skills, and your company might even pay for it, right? So if you're starting to take these classes, you can then become more valuable, more skills, and that's going to help you get another job. So there's no way for you, besides, I think, working at the DMV or some kind of government agency where after like 3 years they can't fire you. There's no real way for you not to be let go, right? So you got to be networking and doing, you know, and giving first rather than receiving, right? Because I've seen that a lot lately on LinkedIn. If you haven't followed me on LinkedIn, and if you haven't liked and subscribed this video, if you have not networked or don't know how networking go, I'm gonna give you a crash course in networking. So networking, you basically say, hey, is there anything I can do for you before you ask? You always want to be giving first and then receiving. So you don't go out and says, hey, can you give me an internal referral for this job posting? Or hey, can you do this for me? And you haven't spoken to the guy for 5 years that you're just connected with on LinkedIn or something. That's not going to work out. You want to provide value, and then and then and then at one point you fed your network so much stuff that you can actually extract from it. So it's almost like growing a lemon tree. In order to harvest, you need to water it, and you need to trim it, and you need to feed it, and all that kind of good stuff, right? And when you need it, it's going to be there for you. But if you have no network, then you have no net worth, right? So that's what they say. Your net worth is your network, right? So you got to be super, super cautious of how you do things. And you don't want to piss your network off with extracting first and writing LinkedIn like, can't get a job. I'm going to unfollow everybody. I'm going to disconnect with everybody. I've seen these posts and, telling recruiters, you can't, you keep giving me job listings that are below my thing. You kind of keep you keep wanting me to work for pay below my pay grade. You keep sending this thing out. That's your fault. You need to upgrade your LinkedIn profile and make it better and start networking and start providing more value, and all of a sudden the opportunities come to you. And one thing I learned in my career so far is when you need something, nobody will give it to you. If you need money and you want to go to the bank and ask for a loan, they're not going to give it to you. But if you have money and you want something, if you have money in the bank and you want something, they're more than happy to increase your credit line. They're more than happy to do stuff. And so is it when you have a job and you're working and doing stuff. When you're not actively looking, you're not actively trying to achieve something, or trying to not achieve something, but when you're trying to not actively get a new job or something, the opportunities just fly your way, right? So you just need to be able to take these opportunities that come in, because I know Allison's LinkedIn, when she was working for another company, there were recruiters asking her, hey, you don't need to apply, just one round of interviews and we'll give you the job. And so it's so crucial that you guys network and be like, hey, I'm more than happy to jump on a 15-minute call with you, answer any questions you have, or how I can support you. And just do a short video, be like, hey, you don't work in the same industry. If there's anything else that I can do for you, or if you want me to introduce anybody at my company, I'm more than happy to do that. And what that forces you to do is actually be nice to your people in your own company. So, like, hey, oh, he wants to talk to John. Oh, I pissed John off with another email on Saturday night, so I can't ask him for a favor right now to meet with this other guy. So I can't do it. But providing value, right? So you got to just be value, 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 and then extract. So, yeah, I hope this was informational. You guys learned something. Let me know what else I should do videos on. Yeah, I love you guys. You guys are amazing. So thoughtful comments. I really appreciate it. If you would watch it for so long, give me a like and subscribe.